Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Days. I'm Wanda, and today we're going to be doing a shelf-stable pantry dish for a collaboration with Mary Ellen from Prepper Potpourri. There's a lot of other ladies in this collab, and there's going to be links in the description below, and I'm going to try and link the playlist so you can see. Last month, all us ladies and maybe some gentlemen, I can't remember, sometimes there's some men in this collaboration. We all did a shelf-stable pantry dish, and last month I did ham salad with shelf-stable stuff. This month I'm doing chicken enchilada casserole. We're going to throw it in the oven, or if I get crazy I may throw it in a crock pot, one of the two. It can go either way if you want to do it that way, because it'll serve the same way. You can either put it in the oven as a casserole, or you can throw it in a crock pot as soup. It's kind of sort of the same thing. Today's recipe comes from garden to pantry to table in the Deep South kitchen. This is my cookbook, and there are none available right now at the moment. Maybe in the future. I keep saying that, but I haven't had time to order. And on page 33, enchilada casserole. We're going to kind of make this up and throw it in the oven for company. It calls for cooked rice or quinoa, chicken that's already cooked, salsa, chopped sweet peppers, corn, black beans, cilantro, cumin, chili powder, garlic powder or garlic cloves, salt, pepper, and shredded cheese. Now, I'm not going to go exactly by this recipe. We're just going to use it as a base. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to flip it into a shelf-stable casserole. I've laid out a lot of the ingredients here and different varieties so you can figure out shelf-stable. Now, if you have fresh chicken and you can cook the chicken down and do all that, that's good. You can use the same recipe. But for our shelf-stable, I have broth and I have chicken already cooked in jars. You can buy broth in a container in the store, so that's not a big deal. You can buy chicken in cans in the store, so just remember that either way. And shredded chicken ready to eat. I freeze dried this and it is good. And I mean, listen, y'all, all you gotta do is take some of it out and add it back to your broth or water or whatever you're gonna do. If you don't have broth, you can use water, but the whole purpose of chicken is having broth. Now, it does call for some beans. I usually use some of my beans that I've canned, but if you have a variety of beans like I do, you can cook them down and add them to this recipe. Cook according to the directions. That is shelf-stable food. It's a way to have beans. If you have some leftover beans that you cooked the day before, you can throw them in this recipe. It also calls for using rice or quinoa. I have both rice and quinoa here on hand, and anything else that you like to use in place of rice, you can use it. But rice and quinoa are shelf-stable for a while, so you can use it for a base for the chicken enchilada casserole. But it does need to be cooked. And one thing, you can go ahead and cook your rice and quinoa. You can freeze dry it and have it ready in packages like this. Any freeze dried can be used in this recipe. Now, it calls for salsa. I've got my own salsa, but you can use Rotel tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, or if you've freeze dried any type of tomatoes or salsa or anything, you can use freeze dried in this recipe. But shelf stable, any of this is shelf stable. You can use anything you have in it for tomatoes. Spices. Now, I've got Miss Lippy's swamp mix, and I usually add a little bit of that in there, but you can use any of her blends. It would not matter, but swamp mix gives it a good flavor. Garlic, cumin, chili powder, onions. Anything you have like this is shelf stable. This is one way to store your stuff, but a lot of people have their own, and they take and freeze dry it, or they take and dehydrate it and ground it up. Either way, if it's shelf stable, it's shelf stable. And you have stuff. I have garlic that just came out of the garden, so fresh garlic is best. But if you don't have fresh garlic, this is the way to have it. Onions, I have fresh onions, gobs and gobs of fresh onions. I've even freeze-dried fresh onions. So you can buy freeze-dried fresh onions, you can freeze-dry your own. You can use onion powder, you can use onion flakes, and that's what this is here too, is onion flakes. I dehydrated some onions a while back to use these as French style onions on green bean casserole. You can use dehydrated. Any way you want to use onions, they're all shelf stable. And if the only thing you have is a chili mix, it's shelf stable too. You can always add a chili mix to this and it'll make it taste, or an enchilada mix. Anything like that works. Actually, enchilada would work better than chili, but I had chili mixes handy. But these things are shelf stable, and if you will take and put several of them, say 4 in a pack, and vacuum seal them in a bag, they last even longer. And cheese. It calls for shredded cheese, but shredded cheese is not shelf stable. So anything that is in a jar, or I've got the white cheese dip, but you can get cheddar, you can get all varieties of cheese like this, and you can freeze dry shredded cheese. I've done that and it is amazing. You can take blocks of cheese and slice it and freeze dry it, and also makes it very shelf stable. Freeze dried cheese is amazing. I added water, rice, and salt. We're going to boil this until the rice is done. You can do quinoa, noodles, whatever you have on hand, but this is mainly a filler for the rest of it, but you do want it cooked. So any way you cook rice, quinoa, whatever, cook it that way and have it ready to add to the casserole. If you have freeze-dried rice, go ahead and add your moisture back to it if you want to, or wait until you add it to the other. Freeze-dried rice can just be, if it's cooked, can already be added as is, and the moisture it will absorb from the casserole. Okay guys, we're going to be assembling our casserole. Now this is my chicken. It is already done. It's just like you would if you bought it in a can. It has a little bit of broth, and I'm not sure that I need a lot of broth, so I'm thinking this is going to be enough chicken and broth. Then my rotel, and that's going to give it a little bit of hot. So if you don't use rotel and you use just tomatoes, or like my homemade salsa's not hot, things like that. If you don't like hot, just do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be rotel. I'm just using rotel today, shelf stable. And then I'm going to add some rice. Now the rice has been sitting a while, and we're doing about, this is going to be a little over 2 cups of rice. And you just break it up. If I'd have done it while it was hot, it would have worked a little bit better, but you see the rice is breaking up like it's supposed to. And then you just mix and try to get the rice where it's not in clumps. It'll just break up. It's just been sitting for an hour or so. Just mix that up really well. We're going to add cumin. And that's to taste. I just add according to what I want. I probably added about a tablespoon and a half. Now, this is chili powder. Again, I know what I like in chili powder. It's a little over a tablespoon. Add whatever you like. These are minced onions. It's not a lot, but about 2 tablespoons probably. This is Miss Lippy's Bayou Blend. It's a swamp mix. I'm adding about 3/4 of a tablespoon to it. We're gonna add in our beans. Now my beans are done. I've drained them. There's no juice in them. And again, it's whatever beans you have that is available. We mix that together. You can add corn and everything else. I just don't have corn. And if you have corn in a can, that's shelf stable. All you gotta do is open a can of that little green giant, add to this. A lot of people use black beans. I just used what was available and what I had on hand. Now, for cheese, it calls for shredded cheese. Okay, y'all, think outside the box. I'm using white cheese in a jar. You can use cheddar, you can use whatever cheese you have. Like I said, it could be any cheese that is freeze-dried. And it could be a shaker bottle, any flavor, whatever you like. But this will make it taste amazing, I promise you. And we don't want to lose that goodness. All right, now we mix. What do you think? Isn't that beautiful? Now we pour it into a dish. And this is where chef stable, you have to think outside the box. When it says shredded cheese and you have no refrigerator and no shredded cheese, you go to the cabinet and you look. This would be, actually, you could make this instead of rice. If you had the chicken and some beans and you had some macaroni and cheese and you made up some mac, or you already had mac and cheese that was made, mix the chicken and the salsa and the beans together, and you've got a new casserole. How do you think casseroles became casseroles? They found what they had in the kitchen and they dumped it in. So then on top of it, you can take and pour some more of this cheese, just lightly. This is going to go into the oven, 375 for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to just check it. Everything's done, guys. You could eat it like it is, but we're going to put it in there 20 to 30 minutes to get it hot and show you what it looks like. Chicken enchilada casserole. Shelf stable. Okay, guys. The casserole's out of the oven. It is hot, and I mean hot. I did not add any more broth to it because I did not want soup. If you were doing like chicken enchilada soup, you could have added more broth, but look at this. Hot, steaming. Doesn't it look good? Now, got a bite of rice, beans, and chicken, and of course the tomatoey stuff and cheese stuff is all in it. Wow. Oh man. This is wonderful. You could take it to any kind of social gathering, anything you wanted to. Serve it for the family. I got family coming tomorrow. This is what they're getting. That is delicious. Chicken enchilada casserole. It's awesome. And we want to thank Mary Ellen for inviting us to be a part of this collaboration. And y'all, check out all the other people in this collaboration that did shelf-stable pantry dishes. You'll get lots of ideas, and every month, the first Tuesday of the month, come back, check out more, because we're going to try to do this all year long so you know how to use your shelf-stable foods in a way that you've not ever thought about doing before, because you always usually have fresh, or you have something in the freezer or in the refrigerator. But if times get to where you have to only use shelf-stable, there's no refrigeration, you got to know what to do and how to do it. So thank you, Mary Ellen, for inviting us from Prepper Potpourri, and we'll talk to you later from Crazy Days.